For this presentation, I will be defining, analyzing, and connecting the various concepts introduced in the following 4 chapters: Black Trash, Black Invisibility, Guilt and Shame, and Objectification. Chapter 2 on Black Trash discusses Mill's primary argument that blacks are considered disposable because of an invisible social and racial contract. Mill supports the idea behind this contract that there is a sense of white supremacy. This just goes to prove that racial domination does exist, and blacks are seen in this view as part of the problem. In regards to this chapter's title, Mills emphasizes the concepts of black trash when he says that blacks have been seen as the body that is most thoroughly material, and when he refers to the Negro as the genital. These ideas are leading factors to why blacks have become the most isolated population in U.S. history. Chapter 4 on Black Invisibility revolves around the popular belief, according to Gordon, that to be black is to be invisible, or in some cases, over-visible. He mentions that there is an effort to weed out the pollution of blackness from the purity of whiteness. This connects to the previous chapter by highlighting the belief that blacks are disposable and we live in a society where whites dominate. Gordon further addresses the representation of blacks by saying that one could, quote-unquote, have blacks, portraying them as entities. Furthermore, demonstrating how blacks experience difficulties in the body framework. Chapter 5 expresses the differences between 2 emotional poles, guilt and shame. The author Haggerty seeks to explain these aspects of mainstream psychology and their relationship of race and racial issues. This chapter portrays guilt as a form of self-punishing anger towards something that is wrong and we desire to be free of blame, and it portrays shame as the evaluation of oneself being seen in an exploitive manner that was wished to be kept hidden, and we desire to be forgiven. With these come a sense of responsibility, and the author claims that in a racial sense, for example, if we do not directly cause the harm, we are not responsible for it. In my opinion, I would assume that this connects to the other chapters discussed by inferring that as long as we are not directly involved in the trash treating, then we cannot be held responsible for it. Chapter 9 focuses on the definition of objectification. Papadakis refers to objectification as a notion central to contemporary feminist theory, which involves the treatment of a person, usually a woman, as a mere object. In other words, we can define it as seeing and or treating a person in such a way that denies their humanity. We objectify women in particular by seeing them as objects of sex, domestication, and inferiority. According to the text, the main source of objectification is sex, and Kahn would advocate for this. Because we live in a society dominated by patriarchy, the author suggests that this is one of the main sources of, in fact, the objectification in our society. In a sense, men feel obligated to treat women as inferior to fit in with the social norms and values. This chapter correlates to the prior ones because it expands the sense of inferiority we experience in society. The other chapters describe how whites treat blacks as inferior, whether mentally or physically, just how or similar to how the men treat women as inferior in similar ways. The actions and beliefs of the previous chapters also demonstrate aspects of extreme objectification and could be used to support Papadakis' claims. If gender and sex were introduced interchangeably within these chapters, then they can all be combined into one final chapter.